I just want to go through what I saw when you were steaming the milk. So I don't know if anyone else noticed, but as Dennis was steaming, he was changing the flow rate on his DE1 app while he was steaming his milk. So correct me if I'm wrong, Dennis, but I think you set it to a faster flow rate at the start and then moved on to the slower flow rates towards the end. So if you could just give some insight on why you did that and how you find it beneficial.
Now, I learned through my experience on teaching that I've been teaching with different types of machine, heat exchanger, dual boiler, multi-boilers machine. And each machine, they behave differently in terms of steam quality.
Yes, yeah.
So some machine has super wet, like if let's say you turn on the steam into your palm, it's almost you can just wash it, wash your hand with those. So wet, it's almost feel like it's showering in a hot mist.
Yeah, yeah.
So for some steam one, it's super dry, very dry. Yeah, boiler machine. I'm talking about traditional boiler machine.
Yes.
So the driest so far is decent. So I learned through the importance of dryness in the foam through experience, and so like I mentioned just now, I use some machine so wet and so soak up the steam quality that the consequence is, let's say it's too wet, I can't even pour a latte art.
Yes.
So the milk just separate the moment I stop the steaming.
That's very correct.
I can barely pour a heart shape from extremely wet steam quality. Yeah. So that's my experience. So let's say the drier it is of the steam quality. That's why there are some brands that always emphasize on our steam quality is super dry. You put your hand over here for 5 seconds, your palm doesn't feel any wetness of it. So that's why they always emphasize on the dryness of the steam. So the dryness of the steam will make the milk super silky. That's number one. And the taste even better. Super silky, very silky milk texture. That means it's very easy to pour latte art.
Yeah.
And nice, aesthetic-wise, super good, And whatever you pour, the milk will follow your instruction. Basically, that's it. Yeah.
I don't know whether it was the feature at the time or whether I think I lost my touch doing a lot of latte art. I almost didn't steam milk for a year. And then I was still, out of practice. And I don't know whether it was the feature coming in and I was still steaming milk with drier steam, and then something clicked. And I kind of believe it was the drier steam and the quality of milk coming out that made it a lot easier. At that point I was, we were doing some live Zooms, and I think I picked up a few pointers, and then it just kind of accelerated from there. But what I want to add to this, I don't want to take anything away from you. What I want to add to this is that the better that you steam your milk, the more enjoyable learning latte art is. Because I think that's the main thing is people want to keep doing the pattern straight away, right? But they don't realize that the quality of their milk is super important. And I think you touched it on perfectly there. The milk will do what you want it to do when the milk is right. So yeah.
The good texture milk, we are looking at the obediency of the milk, right? It follows you, If let's say I've tried, super wet of steam quality, so it does not. It's just like the old dog, doesn't learn new trick. Whatever you tell the old dog, it doesn't behave. Just like that. It feels like that. So that's why just now Christian also mentioned that silky milk, it's better mouthfeel. Yes, absolutely, as well as better latte art. So in some way, a good latte art, good steaming texture will affect on the taste preference as well, the taste of it, of the coffee as well. So that's why just now what I did, I was starting off at 1.2 0.8 mil per second.
Okay.
Just to have enough power to swirl, to make it spin, make the milk spin. In the meantime, I was aerating, making chirping sound. Once it's done, I would like to swirl the milk like it's swirling.
Yes.
But I would like to submerge the steam tip in underneath just a little bit. That's the time that I turn my flow rate into the minimum, like 0.4.
Right. Okay.
So by that, to me, I get the maximum dryness from this machine. So that's why I started off just a little bit, 1.2, 0.8. Then along the way, when I swirling, I just move it back turn it down into 0.4 mil flow rate.
Right. Okay.
So that way, I feel like it's the maximum dryness to me. Maximum dryness. Yeah.
Right. That's really cool. And I guess it's you're really fine tuning your stages of steaming by getting that swirl to speed as quick as possible. I guess the reason for that is to aerate the milk and then to find how to say maximize the time where you're texturizing your milk. Is that correct?
Yeah, but it's slightly longer. It could be just 21, 22 seconds, 20 to 22 seconds, depends. But I get maximum dryness from the milk.
Yes.
From the steam, maximum dryness. In compare, I started off 1.5, then the whole thing would last, let's say, the whole steaming, the whole frothing process would last, let's say, 15 seconds. But it's not as dry as what I did just now, 22 seconds or 21 seconds.
Okay.
I just feel that way. Yeah. So that way, I made a lot of coffee for my students. I made a lot of coffee for my friends.
Yes.
They all also, one thing very, very common, they will say that, oh, how come your milk so smooth? So sweet. My father always told me that. My father always asked me that, hey, did you put any sugar in this coffee? No, no sugar. Oh, okay.
That's great when people say
that's how sweet the milk is.
I'm just going to answer some questions on the chat room. Eric's asking, where can you find the slider for the steaming? I think because you've only just got your DE1, Eric, you need to update it to at least the beta version, and then you will find it at the bottom. But if you can't wait now, you can actually go into the settings machine and calibrate and change it there. It's just that you can't change it real time for now. So I'd suggest grab a coffee, make yourself a coffee first before you update, because the firmware will take anywhere between half an hour to an hour. Make yourself a coffee first before you do it, and then once you've enjoyed it, then you can go back to your D1 and start playing around with the flow rate. But
me personally, I super enjoy this real time controlling. Super enjoy. I never tried any machine with such. I did try some machine with real-time controlling on the bar pressure, but not the flow rate. So it could be just slightly weaker, but the wetness of the steam is still the same. It's the same. Yeah. So
I experienced some of the Lamazocos. You could change the ratio of steam and water in the boilers. And
which model is that?
It was an FB80, so quite an old model, just before the GB5s came out. But we did modify it heavily, so I don't know whether it was an additional add-on feature that we did in terms of PID control. But we actually did a compromise where because the bar was so fast-paced, we couldn't 80% was milk drinks, so we had to make sure that the milk production was super fast. So it was compromised, and it just reminded me when you sort of saying how the milk separated so quickly, and that was by choice, because the pace was so fast that it didn't matter that it was separating so quickly, because they were pouring it almost immediately after steaming. So that is I guess one situation where you might want a wetter steam if production is key. and you don't mind, having your baristas making it very quickly and separating. But we were using spoons and multiple pouring, so it was a little bit different scenario. But yeah, coming to this feature on the DE1 in being able to manipulate your flow rate is incredible, right? It's almost like you're a little bit of an extreme example, but it's almost like the profiles on the DE1. It's like now you can kind of do that with the flow rate on the steam. And we're only really just finding out what the benefits are, and it's pretty cool.
So Paul,
yeah,
do you have something to show us, like something new?
Full disclosure, TGI Friday came.
Can we show?
TGI Friday came too early yesterday, and I actually forgot to pick it up. But we can talk about it, and I'll make sure we show it in another Zoom. But I was meant to show you guys the new prototype Steam one today, but unfortunately I actually forgot to pick it up from the factory. But we can talk about it. I showed Dennis briefly last week what it kind of looked like and things like that, and we discussed about it. And so essentially we're working on a new steam tip, and we wanted to show it today because we've put a lot of emphasis on texturizing the milk and that section of the milk steaming process. And what this steam tip does is it helps in the swirling of your milk to really accelerate the milk. And as we've discussed, this will help in maximizing your microfoam that you will have in your coffees. So we're still testing it out, and essentially it's a 3-hole steam tip, but 2 of the steam tips are at an angle. So rather than spraying just directly out, they are actually redesigned to be at an angle. Yes, and they're 3 in a row.
Yeah.
So one will go towards the camera, the other one will go towards me. Okay, and then we have a single hole in the middle that helps with the aeration. So much like how we've discussed about, it takes a moment of adjustment in using this Steam 1. You will find there's a little bit of adjustment, but the adjustment is just in sort of angles where you find your bite point. But as soon as you get into your swirl, you will find that it has a cleaving motion because of the angle of the steam is now more flatter rather than rounded ball of steam. Okay, it's more flatter. So it actually slices more of your bigger bubbles into micro bubbles. And so we can see right now in these 2 cups, okay, so this one being the one with the lower flow rate. Okay, and this one was the highest one. So the one with the bigger bubble, the highest one. Okay.
Oh, I see.
Okay, so we can see this now, but with a little bit of testing in with the newer prototype Steam 1, we're finding that most of the cups, no matter what flow rate we're doing, comes out like this. And we don't,
that's good.
Yeah, and we don't see as much bubbling appear as quickly. So this is obviously a working development, but is kind of identifying areas we can improve to really match the features that we're putting out. So we've realized that, sometimes the maximum flow rate, there is a bit of a compromise in terms of quality of the milk. But where we can help with that is with these new designs of Steam 1s that will help with the texturization more. So it's kind of quite fascinating. And I've made a few coffees for Bugs and John, and they've kind of said that half an hour has passed, and the latte art is still there. And it's pretty phenomenal. Just one piece of design can help your milk go to the next level. And that's what I would say it is. It really is sort of making your milk more consistent. Maybe not for the likes of you, Dennis, because your milk is fantastic. Every time I see your milk, it's like, oh, I wish I could do milk like you, and pour as well as you can. And it's simply like the way you can repeat patterns and things like that, like literally making the milk do what you want it to do. It's a real art form, and it's a real pleasure to see. But hopefully this sort of new design will help us get to more of the level that you were at, Dennis.
Cool.
Yeah, it's pretty exciting. It's pretty exciting. So hopefully,
I have this question, right?
Yeah.
How did this design come to materialize? Like how do you guys like come to design? Oh, this placing by placing 3 pinholes, one big in the middle, 2 small in the angle. How do you guys like come to materialize such design that will improve the texture of the milk?
I think a lot of credit has to go to Ben Champion, one of our guys in Australia, and he helped design the steam tip, I believe with Fabrice as well, one of our engineers. And where this came about was we were really looking into trying to make milk steaming easier. We all, me and you, we know that it's a skill that can be honed, and you need to keep on top of it in order to be able to execute, right? And when Decent was designing stuff with the ghost steaming and things like that, we can really see this help people there. We are seeing a lot more people asking about the ghost steaming. We're seeing a lot more people who may not have previous experience with coffee. Maybe it's the partners of the people that have owned our Decent espresso machines and wanting to learn more and do coffee themselves. So we're trying to provide an avenue that these guys can get their hands dirty and get positive results from. Ghost steaming, I would say, still has a little bit to work on in terms of it's hands-free. To get the best out of it, you kind of do have to make a little bit of adjustment at the start, but once you've essentially got past the chirping motion, I would say the ghost steaming in terms of texturizing and swirling is already pretty good. Where this steam tip could help is in larger quantities of milk as well, for people that may want to do 2 cups of coffee out of 1. Yeah, I think that's mainly where this project has come on from. But we're kind of seeing more benefits from it, just from people who like to manually steam anyway. And I think that's simply because it's like that espresso is difficult video. Steaming milk is just as difficult as making espresso. But it can be easy or as complicated as you make it. But if you can provide things that will help you and get you on your way to learning how to do it manually, I think we're stumbling on something here. I like to use the notion that some people don't realize some things are better until they experience it themselves. And I would say we're quite lucky in that we've been around people, or we've learned the skill to really understand how to texturize milk and understand that mouthfeel is also important, as well as that delivering of flavor. But people who have not experienced that really beautifully textured milk may not they don't know any better, right? So this is an accessory that will hopefully get them more aware of what great milk is and how fantastic it is to incorporate with milk. I think it's mainly to share the love of milk-based drinks, and I guess it's for the people that are really sort of starting their journey and really looking into these based drinks.
Can't wait to get my hands on it.
Yeah. I believe there's only 10 that were made. Okay. But we had 2 in the factory at the moment, so I'll see if I can speak to Fabrice or someone and see if we can get one shipped out to you, because I do want your opinion on it. It is pretty good, and Yeah, I really like it. After the first week, I wasn't so sure, but after I got used to it, it was yeah, I really enjoy it. And now I moved back to the one at home, and I'm like, oh, it's a little bit different. I've got to angle it a little bit more, and you know, help my swirl. Whereas you know, with the newer one, my jug is much straighter rather than angled to the side. So yeah, so it's quite cool to play around with.
Cool. I believe it's a good product then.
Yeah. You never know; it might change a little bit more in the future. We may
the end product.
Yeah, the end product. But I think the first positive signs on the quality that we're getting out is really cool. So yeah, some exciting things going on, and yeah, we'll see if we can get one out to you, Dennis. We'll see if we can get one out to you.
Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah. You get one to me, then I'll make some video of it. Right?
Yeah. For sure. Okay, so we can see these two coffees, right?
Oh yeah, big difference.
One is 8 minutes before, but was on the highest flow rate, and this one is on the lowest flow rate. But even already the higher flow rate one, we can almost not see the crema in the bottom. Okay, it's really matted, and it's almost like milk at the bottom. If I use a spoon, if I can find a spoon, I've got a whisk, that'll do. Okay, there's no foam here. Okay, it's just literally moisture in the. It's all dissolved. So all the foam has pretty much disappeared. Hopefully this one in 8 minutes will still have it all on, but you can kind of still differentiate the latte art on the top, and the crema is still there. So we'll come back to that in a 8 more minutes and see how it is. But I'm glad the concept came out there in the lower flow rate. It should last longer than the higher flow rate in terms of presentation.